The city of Mykolaiv has also taken heavy losses as it holds off Russia's attempt to seize it. But a senior U.S. official says Ukrainian defenses have not only kept Russian troops from making progress, they've forced them to reposition around the city. Now, because of stories like this, it was hard not to be encouraged when the mayor of Kyiv told reporters that Ukrainian forces had retaken the suburb of Makariv. But my next guest, Sudarshan Raghavan, a correspondent at large for the Washington Post, learned that the situation on the ground is not as clear as what the mayor stated. Here's what he wrote in a piece for the Washington Post. Quote, as a team of Washington Post journalists passed through the checkpoint on Wednesday, Ukrainian soldiers ordered them to quickly leave the town, warning of oncoming Russian rockets or artillery. Minutes later, reporters heard the sound of shells falling. Black plumes of smoke rose over the houses. Soon, more blasts followed. Makariv remains a contested front line, end quote. Joining us now is the author of that story, Sudarshan Raghavan. Mr. Raghavan, good to see you again. Thank you for being with us tonight. Give us the nuance of this, because for those who have not spent time in a city or that's under conflict or a war zone, how do these things look when the Russians say they've taken it and then the Ukrainians say they've taken it back? It's blurry. It's not like an old-fashioned front line.
Not at all, especially in this information age. I mean, what we're really seeing here is two different wars happening, and they're intertwined wars happening in Ukraine. One that's on the battlefield and the other one that's an information war. And what happened in Makariv is exemplifies these two different wars. What you had was the fog of war, as well as a propaganda campaign by both sides, has made really solid information hard to come by. So journalists are increasingly finding it difficult to reach areas outside the capital to independently verify facts due to bombardments, shifting front lines, and just a lack of clarity over the Russian military positions. So oftentimes, you're relying on statements from Ukrainian officials, as what happened with the incident in Makariv. On Tuesday, the defense ministry claimed that the town had been liberated from Russian forces, and the Ukrainian forces had planted a flag, the Ukrainian flag, on top of the town. So we went the next day to check it out, and as you read in the article, we found that it was anything but liberated. In fact, the mayor himself told us that this is just all a bunch of nonsense, and in fact, the Russians were still in control of nearly 15% of the town, and it had been like that for the past 3 weeks. There were tit-for-tat battles in the town, just like what you're seeing in other parts of Ukraine, especially the north of here in the town of Irpin. But the Russians definitely had not liberated it by any means in this town.
So when you talk about Irpin or Makariv or places like that, what does taken or liberated even mean? How does that get determined? We definitely hear about flags being flown. That, of course, is the age-old way in which you claim land that wasn't otherwise under your control. But what does it mean in these towns? Do things keep working? Does the city council change allegiances? What happens when the Russians take territory?
Well, it's a very chaotic situation still. I mean, people, even in Makariv and Irpin, you hear people are still evacuating from these areas, even as these claims of liberation take place. They're still fighting. There's still shelling going on. In Makariv, there are Russian tanks positioned right outside the town, shelling it. So it's a very chaotic situation. Like the mayor, for example, of this town, his main job is to go around now today and try to feed people, try to deal with people who've lost their homes from shelling. Many of them actually we were told are huddled in a hospital inside the town, and that hospital is getting shelled as well. So the mayor has to deal with all these extremely very chaotic situations to really preserve the lives of his residents, and in some cases try to get them out. And for those who don't want to leave, who want to stick it out, he has to find ways to help them deal with electricity shortages, water shortages, gas, and all the other necessities of life.